Don't mess this up, because in front of you right now is one of the best opportunities I have seen in recent years to see significant gains in your crypto portfolio. And that's partly because of two reasons. One, because the global M2 money supply, which has been inextricably linked to altcoin and Bitcoin prices over the past few years, is starting to move towards the upside once more, indicating a move for crypto is imminent. On top of that, the one thing that's been holding us back recently, tariff news, is about to take a back seat as China and the US finally enter into negotiations. If we start to see those tariffs being brought down, then guess what? That's the green light to see crypto prices moving much higher once more. But even with crypto starting to believe once more and hype and excitement returning to the markets, risks of major losses are still around. Just on Sunday, we saw Mantra dumping 92% from its $5.6 billion market cap in just a couple of hours. And this is an indicator that this can happen to you if you don't do careful checks before investing in projects. Therefore, in this video, I'm going to talk about how to identify red flags for crypto projects. Because if you can understand these different red flags, it's going to protect you from 99% of the shady crypto projects out there. So do me a favor, hit the like button, and let's get on with today's video. Now guys, if you've been subscribed to the House of Crypto and you've been enjoying the content, then make sure to check out my second channel, The School of Crypto, which is going to be geared more towards trading. Just yesterday, I took a big trade on Ethereum. I talked about it on this video. I'm also going to talk about how to research within this crypto market, how to understand various things that are going on with the news, etc. So make sure you're subscribed over there to keep up to date. Now, first things first, let's have a look at OM Mantra. What went wrong? Well, I'm not going to make a video about what went wrong because everyone else has already done that. And I don't really like to speculate because various different items are telling me different things and I don't really know for myself exactly what happened. But all we know is it happened. And it happened to a project that previously had a pretty good reputation. It was a real-world asset coin, which had been one of the top performing crypto coins of the last year or so. It had a total value lock near enough $300 million. They had key partnerships with billion-dollar firms in the Middle East. They had a fully doxed team. They had amazing marketing. They had so many things going for them. And yet still, people lost huge amounts of money in just a few minutes on Sunday evening because of various mistakes that were made. So first things first, this is the most important thing. Don't hold all of your eggs in one basket, okay? Because I see all the time, and it really worries me, people under videos going, I hold all my crypto in ICP, or all of my crypto is Casper, or whatever it is. I'm not picking on any particular coin, but if you're holding all of your money in one altcoin, just be very cautious because it's not always the fault of the project that causes problems. Here's an example, in fact, using ICP as this example. I don't know if many of you realize, but back at the last bull market when ICP launched, it had a bit of a shocker. And as we look across this ICP chart, I'm assuming you can see this shocker that they had. You see, it went up to around $390 billion, according to this candle. And then within the space of a day or so, it then returned back down to around $20 billion. How on earth did this happen? Well, it was all closely linked to FTX, Alameda Research, Sam Bankman-Fried doing some pretty shady stuff, pumping this coin using the futures market, then dumping it in other ways. You can go and read the full article over on Medium to understand more about it. But what was the outcome of this? Well, I remember making videos about ICP all the way back in 2023 when the prices were sort of down in this area here, and people everywhere were just like, ICP's a scam, stay away from this coin. And this is all because of what happened up here. The same will be said about Mantra for years to come. It's not always obvious whether or not projects are at fault or exchanges, etc. are at fault, okay? But it has a huge knock-on effect on the price ultimately and of course your investment. So protect yourself from moves like this. If you're going to hold a crypto portfolio of only one coin, dare I say it, Bitcoin's probably the only one you can hold. Okay, so Mantra, we've already identified a few things that are kind of pros, good things for it, right? It's in a key narrative. They have doxed founders, important. They were trading on Binance. They had loads of other things going for them. But where did this go wrong? Well, first things first, and I said this because I was already invested in Mantra back in the autumn, and I kind of got out of it around this time here because it had already been doing really well. In fact, it had outperformed the wider crypto market because remember last year when most altcoins were just going down for months and months and months, Mantra was just going up. And then it went sideways for a bit. I decided to take profits because it held pretty well while the rest of the crypto market went down. I was obviously pretty devastated to then see crypto going up like this. And all the time on my videos and in the comments, people are like, should I get into Mantra? Is Mantra the coin to be in? And I was like, well, I've always been a bit cautious of coins that are pumping when the wider crypto market is going down. You see, this is the 20th of January and this is the 17th of February. From the 20th of January down towards 17th of February, Bitcoin fell under 100k, down to near enough 90k. As for example, Render absolutely dumped off the face of a cliff as well. Ethereum dumped harder than most. ICP went down, Sui went down, everything went down. But Mantra kept going up on its own, nothing else. Why on earth was it going up when the crypto market was bleeding? And why was the market bleeding? Well, the market was bleeding because M2 money supply was reducing, liquidity was leaving in fear of the tariffs coming in. And on top of that, you then had, all the people starting to panic sell as their crypto projects fell. Everyone started to move away. So the only projects that managed to pump during this time weren't being driven by retail investment. They weren't being driven necessarily by exciting and good pieces of news. They were being driven secretly behind the scenes by market makers, by insider trading, all sorts of other things going on. Now, I didn't identify this specifically at the time. I just know stay away from coins that are outperforming the market massively when there's no real right for them to be doing it. Maybe on 1 week, suddenly like it gets announced it's going on Binance, it pumps 1 week and then goes sideways. Fine, but not consecutive 5 or 6 weeks towards the upside while the whole crypto market's bleeding. But if you got caught up in it, I'm sorry, that you've lost money. It's obviously not a nice thing, and it wasn't an obvious one to pick, okay? There's no guarantees that this could have ever happened. It was a really difficult one to see coming. This is just maybe a bit of intuition coming in here. Now, another thing that could potentially be a red flag for Mantra, and is definitely a red flag for other projects I've seen, is using bubblemaps.io, you can see something very important. This basically shows you different wallets and how much they're holding of a particular project. You can see that this wallet here holds 14.27%. Lots of these other wallets are holding 2 to 3%. That is quite a big wallet, and if one of these offloads a full bag, like I think happened on Sunday, there's a good chance that it can cause liquidations. That's what they're basically saying happened in crypto. So if you're involved in crypto projects that aren't properly decentralized and have huge kind of whales holding these particular coins, you need to understand that they can be manipulated quite easily, and that is again a bit of a risk. Now I want to talk about this because this one has pretty much been the reason I wanted to make this video today. Now I posted about this on my Twitter page earlier on today when Ergo was just pumping towards the upside. If you missed it, make sure you follow Peter_THOC because it will keep you out of some of these major traps, and I'll also talk about different trading opportunities, things that I'm kind of working on as it happens. So make sure you give me a follow over there. Now, what was I saying at this particular point before this started to take place? Eventually we started to do this. Well, this coin again was absolutely ripping towards the upside. From Sunday, the 6th of April, which is not that long ago, it's done a 14x up towards highs that it saw earlier on today. And this was very exciting. So what happens? Everybody in all the groups is telling me that they're buying into this coin and this is the coin to be paying attention to. Of course, when a coin is pumping like crazy and the rest of the market is dead quiet, be cautious. Think about why it might be pumping, because it's not necessarily going to be coming from retail investors, because retail investors are just not here at the moment. That's why I'm getting like half the amount of views on this video that I might normally get. But first things first, when I saw this coin pumping towards the upside, I was like, let's go and have a look at it. We went to coinmarketcap.com, we come down through, and the first major kind of flashing fear sign for me, the first major red flag is this. This is the markets. This shows you where it's being traded, okay? Now, I know just the other day, Mantra was being traded a lot on OKX, and that's where most of the liquidations took place. So I was like, interesting. Let's have a look here. You can see Upbit, which is a Korean exchange, today had 65% of the volume for this coin. Now, that's a lot, okay? Because other exchanges, 2% on Coinbase, Gate.io, 5%, not really much on any other exchanges. Something very weird was going on. Why was this Korean exchange pumping like crazy? What did they know that we didn't? Now we're going to take the contract address here. We're going to jump across to this page here. Now pasting this in, you can see something very interesting straight away. Now I just want to point something else. This is bubblemaps.io and it says it's 17 months out of date. Okay, so not ideal, but I'm just giving you the example anyway. There is a premium version for this, which I don't think they've released yet. And when you get the premium version, you can see not only like today's wallets, but you can see the wallets over the past few weeks so that you can see how projects are moving their tokens around. You can understand exactly what everyone is doing behind the scenes. Very key. But as you can see, 17 months ago, 56.75% of this whole coin was held in here. Also, these kind of shady looking kind of charts where they've kind of pinged coins around all between all sorts of different investors, etc. these are very key. Okay, these little chains show you where transactions have been happening. Again, this is a bloody big wallet. Okay, lots of other stuff to be a little bit cautious about. Okay, so red flags, but yes, delayed. I would imagine if I was to be able to see the one for today, it would have painted a fairly similar picture, although this will now be much smaller as they've sold off massively. Okay, so we know it's pumping. It's been pumping because of WEEX Exchange, and I don't really know why. So I'll go across to the website. Let's go and find out whether or not it's a decent project or not. Now, to the untrained eye, the blockchain for the world, ergo, blah, 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 go through. It's a pretty decent professional looking website. There's no real kind of red flags here. This video isn't about like identifying the best project to invest in over another, but it's identifying the red flags that you need to avoid so that you don't get caught buying into something like this, which today from around midday has dumped nearly 76%. Okay, because this one had some very clear telltale signs that I was talking about on my Twitter page. So looking through the website, you could be convinced that this is a pretty good one. I'm sure if, you know, someone made a video about this and said, oh, Ergo's amazing, they've been partnering with him, and they've been partnering with them, and they've been doing this, you'd be like, yeah, sounds good to me, take my money. But you're not going to be like that anymore. You're going to be learning your own research, okay? So, what's interesting? Loved by investors around the world. This is a very good place to look for trustworthy crypto projects most of the time. Sequoia. Big investment fund for crypto. Just to check that this is real, and I recommend doing this when you come across crypto projects because other fake crypto projects will put fake connections on these things. So make sure they are actually paired up with who they say they are. This is cryptofundraising.info. You can check different funds, you can check different projects here. This is Sequoia. You can see invested in 107 projects. They've invested in a bunch of different projects. They invested in Filecoin. They invested in like Binance. Okay, this is a bit of a big dog when it comes to investments. And you can see they did invest in Ergo, around $30 million, along with Arrington Capital, another major VC fund. This is pretty good, okay? This is something that makes me more confident. And perhaps many people would stop here and be like, maybe we can get away with this. Maybe this is still an all right coin. So are there any more red flags? Well, I think one of the easier red flags to find is to go across to the Twitter page, or the X page, whatever you want to call it. And you can see some interesting stuff here. And that is that today, or for the last week, we've seen this coin go up 13x, which means that to go up that much, you would expect to have a huge community who are suddenly buzzing around it. Do you remember when like Virtuals and AIXBT and all of these coins started pumping like crazy? All of the Twitter space, everyone was talking about it. It went absolutely crazy. I've barely seen this coin recently, okay? And that's because we come across here, you can see some of the comments. Despite having 47,000 followers near enough, they had an AMA and it had 8 comments on it. 7,500 views. This is a pretty crap post, but 4,600 views. Okay, this is not very good engagement. This is a bit of a worry for me because you would have expected to see more engagement if the project was doing well. So for example, I got 6,000 followers and I get like 16,000 views on the post. Okay, and this one got like 9,900 views. Okay, this shows that there's good engagement with the kind of people interacting with me, hopefully. Okay, so when you see low engagement versus big following, it can mean bots, it can mean other worrying signs to be cautious of. So what are the red flags then? So first things first, let's find out why this project's pumping. You can see here that it announced that it was launching on futures on Binance. But interestingly enough, just a couple of weeks ago, Binance removed them from their spot trading. That's a bit of a red flag as well, something that's kind of like downgraded them because futures may be a bit easier to get onto Binance for. So again, this is not necessarily the most bullish news ever. Also, listing onto Binance during times like this can lead to a lot of people escaping the game, leaving you for exit liquidity, etc. So if suddenly the news is out that they're listing on Binance, that's probably time that you want to be kind of distancing yourself. As you can see, that led to kind of an onslaught of excitement. I went out there and I saw in the group, Telegram group today, people asking huge amounts of questions about when to get in, is it still the good time to buy, people trying to buy. Avoid this like the plague, particularly when the market is like it is right now and people are in a group like this going absolutely crazy. Okay, so anything like that that's absolutely pumping where it shouldn't necessarily be pumping is a major red flag. It's easier to spot them around now than it is perhaps when the bull market's going and lots of different projects are pumping. But there's a pretty easy checklist to go through, I think, in terms of being able to exclude most of the risky stuff. Now and then you might end up in a risky project. It's happened to me, but you know, we live and learn as time goes on. First thing to check off is it in the right narrative? And this is a very important thing when choosing a project because narrative is going to be the driver of those particular projects through the market. Gaming does well. AI does really well. AI agents will do well. DeFi does okay. DePIN, real world assets. Why? Because retail investors like you and me can understand how these projects work. They're not too technical. It means they're interesting to talk about and they sound good. Okay, so that's a very big key, because ultimately, for you to be buying, let's say now, and then selling to someone who's willing to buy up there, you need to make sure that this person, who's a lot less smart than you are because you bought down here, is easily able to understand, or at least think that they can understand, roughly what that crypto project is doing and why that crypto project might be bringing value. Okay, so narrative. Second thing, although not always a guarantee of safe results, is doxed team. It really helps if you're going to invest in projects where the team have exposed who they are. Okay, I know Mantra's team is doxed. I know Luna was doxed. But loads and loads of scams and rug pulls out there are not doxed. So you can avoid 99% of rug pulls and stuff by not going into projects with undoxed teams, okay? Yeah, you might miss out on some good opportunities. Who cares, okay? Stay safe. It's better than losing money by taking too big a risk. Socials, social media. Go into their Twitter. Go into the groups. Go and see whether there's bots. Go and see what the conversation's about. Understand whether or not they're getting decent views. Understand in the comments below all of their different posts, whether or not they're real posts, whether or not they're people actually engaging with the project. This is a very key sign as to whether or not they're actually farming engagement or whether they're actually just creating their own engagement through sort of shady things and stuff like that. And yes, other projects will do this, whatever, but this is a very key thing. If the project's pumping on a day like today when no one's in crypto and the community are not behind it, then someone else is behind it, and you don't want to be investing in projects that someone else is behind because you are the exit liquidity for that. On to the next one, proof of concept. Are they actually doing what they're supposed to be doing? This is a very big one, right? If you go and look at like Sui on DeFi Llama, or you go and look at Ethereum or whatever, these projects people don't like necessarily, or they do like or whatever, but you can tell that these projects are operating. They are sending transactions. They're having projects being built on top of them. People are investing their time and effort and money into building projects and protocols on top of these other platforms. It's a pretty good indicator that these people have been doing their due diligence about the sort of places they want to be investing. Also, when you're thinking about other projects into the future, go and check and verify things that they say that they've done. Are they actually partnered with BlackRock? Are they actually partnered with Nvidia? Or whatever they say they are? Have they actually received a grant from Google? Have they gone and done these other things? You can go and find this information anywhere. And if you can't find the information, don't go and invest until you find it, okay? Because it's a big concern. If I partnered right now with Nvidia for my crypto project, you would be the first to know. I would tell everyone because it would be massively positive for my project. Okay, so I wouldn't just quietly put it away on a website somewhere. I would publicly advertise it, in which case I wouldn't do it if it was a lie, because you would ultimately get found out. And also, if projects are saying, oh, well, we have this many users and whatever, this many downloads on the App Store, just go and check it, okay? Go and check it. Most of the times that you mess up in this game, it's because you're rushing to try and get in because you're going to miss out on the opportunity to get in, okay? Like this one. Many people, I got into the group earlier just to see what the vibe was when the price was like here, and people were like, how do I buy? How do I buy? They were going absolutely crazy, and I was like, this is one, and I actually decided to short it because of that. I made a whopping like $400, but you get the picture, okay? I'm just trying to look for the degeneracy. I want to get in and sell shorts to it, okay? Because I know what's going to happen next, okay? Don't just FOMO into stuff. The more time you just take to just check these simple things, then you're going to be good. Now, also, obviously, the crypto project as well is important. Make sure that it's actually decent. If it's a game, make sure it's a game that you actually enjoy playing. If it's an AI project, make sure it's an AI that's actually building partnerships, has working kind of protocols, has working tools, etc. If it's a real-world asset platform, make sure they have huge amounts of total value locked, key partnerships, various other things like that. Make sure that they're decentralized across various different wallets, etc., and not too centralized into certain wallets, okay? This should keep you safe from 99% of things, but obviously in the future we're going to continue to build on that. If you've enjoyed kind of like studying and learning a little bit more about how to operate in crypto safely, rather than just hearing me talk about crypto projects all day every day, then make sure you subscribe to the channel, because together we're going to identify projects throughout this bull market, we're going to identify the risks and understand what's going on. Now, if you want to trade any different cryptos, buy, sell cryptos, then I highly recommend using a non-KYC exchange like either Bitunix or WEEX, which are both linked down below in the description. They do not require a KYC, which means you can use them anywhere, and if you also use a NordVPN, which I also have a big discount for, then you can access these exchanges anywhere in the world without anyone knowing that you're doing it, and that's pretty key. Also, you can get access to a huge range of different altcoins, from small cap to larger cap coins, with some of the lowest fees across crypto. So if that's what you want to do, go and check out these exchanges. I personally use 3 to 4 different exchanges every day. I think it's good to have a few different ones, because obviously we know what happened to FTX. Keep yourself decentralized as much as possible. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye-bye.